Good morning, everybody. My name is Christopher Lowe. I'm President and CEO of the Bluffs Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber Board of Directors and staff, I just want to thank all of you for being here this morning. Our mission at the Chamber is to strengthen businesses and build partnerships that promote economic growth and community development. And we pursue our mission in large part by partnering with the city, the county, and other organizations in our community to invest in those areas. And local elections are important, as all of you know, and you're showing that by being here this morning, so I want to thank you for being here. I also want to thank our sponsor, who is our sole sponsor, who is providing the financial funding to pay for rental of the space, which is Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation. Advanced Southwest Iowa is Potawatomi County's economic development organization. They do a fantastic job of representing the county and bringing new business and jobs to this area. So I want to thank Advanced Southwest Iowa for their sponsorship. I also want to thank the Bluffs Community School District for allowing us to use this facility. This is the fourth time now that we've done this, and the last forum that we will host before the election on November 4th. And their team has been very generous with their time and helpful with their talent. So I want to thank the school district. Also, obviously, want to thank the candidates for stepping up to do this. Running for and serving in elected office is a difficult job. And I just want to thank them for volunteering to serve our community and for being here to participate in these forums and engage with all of you. The Nonpareil. Finally, I want to thank the Nonpareil. The Chamber partnered with the Nonpareil this year to facilitate these forums. And Rachel George is our moderator this morning, editor at the Nonpareil, and has generously given her time on these Saturday mornings to facilitate and moderate the forum. We also partnered with the Nonpareil to produce a voter guide, which is available on our website, houseblessediowa.com, with good resources and candidate responses to questionnaires that the Chamber did and that the Nonpareil conducted. So I want to thank the Nonpareil for their partnership. And now we'll pass over your phone. So without further ado, please help me welcome Rachel.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Rachel George. I'm the executive editor of the Nonpareil. Excited to be here. Excited to partner with the Chamber on providing some election information opportunities to the public. As Chris mentioned, this is an opportunity for you guys to hear directly from both Jill and Matt on their views, priorities, and plans for the future of our city. Just like last time I asked, to ensure the forum remains productive and respectful, I ask for your cooperation. Please refrain from interruptions, outbursts, or any behavior that would otherwise distract from the discussion today. Simple dialogue helps all of us better understand the choices before us. It's okay. The candidates on the stage are also our neighbors, so both of them have stepped forward to willingness to serve our community and they serve our community.
It's online.
If you were at the last Mayoral forum, the format today will run similarly
I'll send it.
to that. And we're excited to get through some more questions than we did last time around. So when we kick things off, each candidate will have 90 seconds to introduce themselves before we enter the question period of the forum. The questions have been determined in advance by the Nonpareil to provide information on a wide variety of topics of interest to voters. For each question, the candidates will have up to 3 minutes to respond, and each candidate will have the opportunity to answer questions first. And to keep us on schedule, there will be some signage to signal time limits to candidates and the moderator. Candidates will be allowed to finish their thoughts, extending past the time limit within reason. I know last time I kind of wanted you guys to finish out your sentence, but I think it's more important to have complete thoughts so we can get a good idea of your views on things. So I'm not going to be as strict there, but if we go well past the time limits, I'll ask that we can move on to the next topic. I plan to ask a handful of general questions for each candidate to answer, and then we'll go into a set of questions tailored to each specific candidate and their views and topics they've been talking on. Even when the question is not directed at you, a candidate will still have the opportunity to answer or say something on that topic. We'll alternate between the tailored questions to ensure a fair number of tailored questions per candidate. And then I also have another set of more general questions that I can ask after that. I'm hoping to save time for a couple of audience questions at the end. I would ask that you guys keep your questions courteous and respectful, as I have tried to do today as well. Rebuttals will be permitted today between the candidates, though we've asked them to keep their remarks civil and discuss specific policies or general ideas without being too aggressive to their opponent. And I will ask follow-up questions as needed. Following the questions, they will have 90 seconds to provide final remarks. Thank you again to you both for being here, for being willing to participate and give back to the community this way. Thanks to Chris and the Chamber for hosting the event, and we will go and get started. So we spent a lot of time in the last forum discussing housing and homelessness, so we'd like to explore other topics this morning. But before we do, Jill, if you'd like to start, could you please briefly state the direction you want to take on housing and homelessness?
To jump right into the questions, or can we do?
We should probably do the introductions first. Ooh, man, I didn't have that. Yes, okay. Take a step back. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, all. I'm Jill Shudak. Thank you again to the Chamber for hosting these events, to Southwest Iowa for being the sponsor today. I'd also like to thank the schools and the staff for being here on their weekends. And I would like to thank Brian Graffeler. He spent a lot of his time at all of these candidate forums, videotaping them, and then going home and editing and posting them out so people that can't be here have an opportunity to watch them all. So thank you, Brian, very much for your work there. I was born here in Bluffs. I was raised just a few miles outside the town on 1234. I went to Edward High School. I've gone to the University of Iowa. I've lived in Omaha. I've lived in Chicago. And when I was in Chicago, my father became sick and was going to be passing away. And so I said it was time to go back to my family. It was great to live elsewhere and get different perspectives. But I always knew that Council Bluffs was going to be my home and where I wanted to live and have my family at. And so I have been a homeowner here in Council Bluffs for the last 10 years. I'm proud of my roots. I'm proud of the city and believe that we have an opportunity to really grow, expand, and bring our pride back into our community. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Matt Walsh. Good morning, I'm Matt Walsh. Lifetime resident of Council Bluffs, except for the 6 months it took me to flunk out of the University of Iowa. Came back to Council Bluffs, was a union construction laborer and a beer truck driver. as I was a beer truck driver, I went back to Creighton University, got a finance degree, Dean's List, and then became a commercial banker. I spent 28 years as a commercial banker advising a multitude of different businesses on how to be successful, and so it gave me an extensive background in business operations, which is what this job really is. It's not elected philosophical. It is the business manager of the city of Council Bluffs. $159 million budget, over 500 employees, 8 different departments. It's a difficult job. In addition to that, you have to represent the city in a variety of functions, ceremonial and formal, and I think I do that well. Will be my 4th term. I'm asking for your vote for re-election to a 4th term. Thank you.
So Matt, I'm going to have you start with this question since Joe introduced herself first. Yes. Could you please briefly state the direction you want to take on housing?
So we have a finite amount of tax dollars that we need to spend judiciously. And in that effort, we rely heavily on our nonprofit organizations. In the homeless arena, it is almost 100% driven by nonprofit organizations. I believe that we get the shelter pass-through money from the state of Iowa, $20,000 of community development block grants. It is not easy. I spent 9 years as the treasurer for Match, which is the local continuum of care for homeless for the entire metro area. Every area of Omaha and Council Bluffs has homeless. The entire nation has a homeless issue. That said, after the primary, I said I've learned some things that I think I can do better. And I would like to take a more active role in working with those nonprofit organizations. Our police and fire chiefs work on a daily basis with the homeless population, but I think we need to step up. We have plenty of laws. We don't need more laws. City laws are only ordinances, which means you can arrest somebody, put them in jail, pay the $175 of incarceration fee, and then the judge releases them the next day and they go right back to where they were the day before. That's not the solution. We need to work with the county attorney's office and the fourth judicial district, which we're doing now, and we're in talks with them to try and establish some type of homeless court that would be similar to what drug court is. If you have multiple arrests, you're a reoccurring violator. We want to help you through recovery with some long enough term incarceration that you can sober up. And then when they get out, we just don't dump them out in the parking lot. We need to get them with counselors so that they continue their sober journey with professional help. Mental illness is a big problem. The federal government gives HUD grants, but they're nowhere near capacity. The state of Iowa used to have 4 mental health facilities. Today, they have 96 beds in the entire state of Iowa for mental health patients. So they push it down to the county who handles mental health. The county's somewhat stretched in that they do a regional mental health, and they have, 8 different counties that Ottawa County has to oversee. When somebody in rural areas has a mental health issue, they come to the urban area looking for help from professionals that don't have the capacity to provide that help. It can be 7 months before they get an appointment with a mental health professional, and by then they're lost on their journey. So we need to provide focus for these people. We need to provide direction. And I need to take more active role.
So homelessness is our most critical issue that is facing our community. And I wish that Matt would have identified that he could have taken more active role earlier in his terms. 12 years is a long time without being a major player in this conversation. And it's something that I have, not only on the school board, but also as a city council, have reached out to Randy Waller, who is the CEO of New Visions, and had discussions with her. If those discussions, if we would invite our partners to our study sessions or to present, I think some of the information or misinformation about New Visions would have been cleared up very quickly. I met with her in June. She had shown me plans that they were already working. She had drawings to put in a fenced area to keep the people off of the roads, to move the outdoor space to the back of the building. So again, to help move people out of the other neighborhoods by avoid funeral for the homes. That they're working on putting in together a new entry that would include locker space, a place for them to keep their items, bug bed treatment, a secure entry. So all of those things have been in the works for months. And I do think that it was a miss on the city government and the mayor for not having our community partners come in and provide regular updates to the city as far as the different plans that are going. With that being said, there's a lot more that we need to do and focus in on this problem. The HOP team, led by Chief Davis, is doing amazing work. We need to increase the HOP team there. We need more outreach as far as having one place that the people can go to. There's a lot of pressure being put on New Visions, and New Visions is taking the brunt of the homeless. We need to, as a city, step up and have one of my city council colleagues mentioned a triage center. I would like something similar yet different. I would like actually one building where all the different community partners can come together. A person who is struggling with homeless then be assigned a caseworker. They are then walked through what is their education, health updates, where are they struggling at, career opportunities, and then work forward from them to get them up and out of the streets. Homelessness is not going away, but how we work and how we treat it can make a huge difference in our community. Just last night, Sierra Francis House over in Omaha, there was a story released on KETV. They had national notoriety for their their townhomes, their tiny homes program, where veteran and disabled people that were homeless were given an opportunity to live in those, and that's a step up to get them stable so they can work on themselves and then move up and out of the homeless population. Thank you.
Sure. It's somewhat counterintuitive to say that the city hasn't done anything and then praise the police chief for the HOP program. We have done a lot. We work on a daily basis. We have 2 assigned police officers that go into the homeless encampments and work with the encampment people so that we can figure out who the criminals in those encampments are. When we sat here for the last mayoral debate, Jill said she had a 27-point program to help homelessness. One of the first points was to raise sales tax a penny. That's an $11 million tax increase, $360 per household. I don't think throwing money at it is the solution. I think a stronger focus, working with the shelter to clean up some areas. The shelter director said she can't control what goes outside her shelter. I don't believe that's true. We have people that are preying on the people inside the shelter because they can come in and go out and come in and go out. And so we need to lock down the shelter, put some more security down there, maybe look at the day facilities so that the shelter shuts down at 8 in the morning so they can clean up for the next night. That the homeless walk the streets until 4 in the afternoon. We need to work with nonprofits, not throw city taxpayer money at it, to try and create day shelters or activities to keep the homeless occupied so that they're not abusing drugs.
So Matt wants to add at the shelter, and I guess I'll be a little bit more clear going forward. When I say the city hasn't done a lot, Matt hasn't done a lot. To his point, he said that earlier. So I'll be more direct, I guess, going forward today.
I said it would do more.
Excuse me?
I said it would do more. I didn't say I didn't do a lot.
You said you need to do more.
Right?
Right. But the mayor needs to lead this conversation. The mayor needs to be the one in the room, having the conversation and bringing it back to the community. That's what the mayor needs to do. Matt just said that he would like to have additional shelters. I don't want additional day shelters. I would like a community place where all of our partners can go, not a shelter. That's a huge difference.
I appreciate you both. So Jill, we'll have you start with this next question. What would you like your legacy as mayor to be, and how would that contribute to overcoming barriers to growth in Council Bluffs?
Yeah, I would like my legacy to be one that brings the pride back into the community. When I was younger in this community, we had street dances. We had great community opportunities where everybody came together in one place. It seems right now that we have different fractions doing different things. You have Iowa West running some items, even trick-or-treating this year. There's so many different places that you can go instead of just one trick-or-treating event. I do believe that the city and the mayor has done a great job with Celebrate CB and the fall, the Winter Fest, but we need more events led by the city throughout, where everybody can come together in one spot, and we're not trying to identify what part of town does what. We also need a mayor that wants to listen and have conversations with people and not shut them down. Too many people from walking doors, we've knocked over 10,000 doors at this point in time for this candidacy. You can also see it online. They don't feel like they can bring issues or questions to the mayor to get discussions. Myself, I asked a question this week of a staff member. The response was, you need to ask the mayor these questions, don't come to us directly anymore. That's the type of environment that we don't need. We need to be able to have an open, honest conversations about what's going on in our community and to have those tough conversations if they're needed.
So, as far as legacy, I think that I would like to create a sense of place, a community that feels like home, that I would agree with Jill, that has activities that people are proud of. We created the Uncampaign Unlike Anywhere Else on purpose because we are unique and we want to stay unique, but it's a great place to live. I'm so proud of Council Bluffs. And we made some significant changes. The city doesn't do Celebrate CB. That's a nonprofit organization that puts that on. The city does have 4 seasonal events that are free to all the residents for them to enjoy, and we've had as many as 10,000 citizens take part in Summerfest, Winterfest. I think we had over 6,400, and so those are great events. Those create a sense of place. The Pace Building created arts and culture, a venue for that. We'll just continue to make Council Bluffs an attractive place. Got a list of 15 things that I've changed apparently that have gone unnoticed, and I think that'll probably come in. But some of the top things, we redid West Broadway for the first time since 1949, $33 million of non-taxpayer money. We fixed the city's levy system so that residents don't have to worry about being flooded or get flood insurance. $70 million of non-taxpayer money. I created, at the time, the world's largest free Wi-Fi network that provided access to the internet for students during COVID, when other communities had poor families. Council Bluffs residents live at 80% of the nation's median income. That means they live 20% lower than the median income of the United States. They had parents who couldn't afford the internet. Because we had some foresight and created Blink, with the help of the Iowa West Foundation, with the help of Google, with the help of the Lakeland Foundation, again, avoiding taxpayer money, our students had access to the internet during COVID. I'll save the others. Thank you.
Those are some great things, and I give the city and the partners credit. I don't necessarily know if Matt can take credit for all of those things. Iowa West is an amazing partner here in town. They do a lot of different activities. They put a lot of different grants in. And the Wi-Fi was because we have a great partnership with Google. I do think that we need our identity of the uncamping. If you just walked into any house down on West Broadway, I don't think anybody generally in the public understands what the uncamping is or the U-ins across town. I don't think that the city has done a great job of explaining what that camping is or that type of marketing. I think we need our own identity. I think that we need activities that we can get around and rally around and become part of our community, and that's really what our legacy needs to be. We have a semi-pro soccer team here in town. Up until 3 months ago, I had no idea that was even a thing here in town. And as I'm talking to people, nobody else did. We have an opportunity to take that semi-pro team, rally around them just like we do the Iowa Western Reavers in football, and really become a great sports team here in town and have a true identity where people of all ages can go to those sporting events, take their families. It's a family function. It's not centered around the 100 block or the bar scene. It can be a really great opportunity for us to have a true identity and move forward and potentially then get a professional team here as well. Thank you. So
I negotiated with the Iowa Department of Transportation on the jurisdictional transfer of West Broadway to the city. I negotiated $20 million in compensation. I went to the Iowa West Foundation and negotiated with them to get $10 million in aesthetic improvements on West Broadway. Most recently, Iowa West gave us $3.2 million to build the walls and put the landscaping under the bridge. That's $33 million that I negotiated. The city's levy system, the second month on the job, I went to Des Moines. They had flooding on the Iowa River, and the city created the state created a flood mitigation program that would get 60% of any incremental increase in the 5-cent state sales tax to Iowa City and Cedar Rapids to rebuild their communities. I went to the legislature personally and said, this is unfair for Council Bluffs. We've had flooding in 2011. Flooding in 2014, flooding in 2019, which hadn't occurred yet at that time. And I said, we need to be able to access flood mitigation program. We received $70 million, some of which is destined to fix Indian Creek, which is a WPA program from 1934 and needs to be improved. $70 million, non-taxpayer money. I went to Des Moines and did it. So when Jill says I didn't do anything, Google used to give the city about $120,000 for technology purposes, and my predecessor put free Wi-Fi in the 100 block and at Bayless Park and at Hanford Park, and when they gave the first grant to me, I said we need to be more strategic. We went to the Council Bluffs schools, we went to Iowa West Foundation, and we went to to Lakeland. Now, I was not directly in those negotiations. One of the kindest people and one of the people I love most in my life, Wendy Schultz, handled that job. But Wendy worked directly with me. We were able to put free Wi-Fi throughout the entire West End. If you live in the East End, you don't get it because It's not fiber Wi-Fi, it's radio waves, so it doesn't work well in the hills. If you get down in the valley, you don't get it, but the people that needed it during COVID had free Wi-Fi. It's so successful, people can stream on their laptops. To say that I didn't have anything to do with that is ludicrous.
The mayor just mentioned that recently $3.2 million was of non-taxpayer money was given to put walls and down at the end of West Broadway. There's some nice beautification that happened, but the city then, I wish that the mayor would talk with Iowa West about different opportunities that $3.2 million could go to fix our cities. The West End does flood. I think it is a bit of a disservice when the mayor sits in a meeting or today it says, look, the West End doesn't flood. I've been in those city council meetings where people have come and talked about the West End flooding, and he says it doesn't flood down there. It does. Anybody who has eyes that can drive down to the West End sees that it floods. I wish that the mayor would have talked to Iowa West about the $3.2 million to add additional pretty walls down at the end of West Broadway. Maybe that $3.2 million could have been used to help fix the issues that are going in on the West End with the flooding that currently happens now.
You know, it's not true. So the west side of Council Bluffs does have flooding occurrences, and I've explained to people why they do. When the river level is high, our storm sewer system gravity flows into the Missouri River. At times, the Missouri River height exceeds the height of those storm outlets. The city has to close the gates so that the river water doesn't backflow into the city. When that happens, we have to pump water over the top of the levee. It's not as efficient as gravity flow. If two simultaneously unusual events happen, being the height of the river and the other being a rainstorm that is extensive, there are streets that do flood in the West End. The solution is hugely expensive. I looked at a project in Dubuque called Beat Creek Street Reservoir. They take and they're a detention cell for Dubuque, and Dubuque's very much like Council Bluffs, very hilly and then very flat. $254 million that project cost. So check if you want to. It's called Beat Creek Project in Dubuque, Iowa. We were going to start that project because the state gave us $10 million in flood money after 2019, and then the governor reallocated that to Woodbine, to Oakland, and to Hamburg, and so we were unable to start it, but it is prohibitively expensive. I'm talking about $70 million for an entire levee system that would have been a burden on taxpayers. Beat Creek was over $200 million. So some things we just can't, you know, that they're acts of God that the city has to deal with, and sorry.
I personally would not, if I was on the city council, and when the ARPA funds came into our community, this would have been the #1 project that I would have tackled. Fixing the West End is something that we need to do in order to grow and keep our population here in town. It's just, to me, the appearance is the West End is gonna flood, oh well, let's build somewhere else. That's not what we need to do. We need to fix the West End, whether that's adding a pump station, whether that's increasing the backflow, the size of the backflow pipe. We need to work on these different ideas. We can't just let the West End continue to flood every single time. And unfortunately, the river rises in the spring when the snow melts, and that's a lot of times when we have our heaviest rains as well. Those things go hand in hand. So it's not an act of God. It's looking at the weather forecast and saying, this is going to happen year after year after year. We need to work on this issue. And I understand that it's very expensive. But we can't just kick the can down the road and say, we're not going to work here. We want to go build over on the golf course, or we want to build a man walk. We have to fix our community that's already here. Are we okay to move on?
I could keep going for hours.
I know, I want to try to get to a variety of things. So Matt, this question is for you. What changes could the city make to improve transparency and communication with residents, particularly for budget decisions? Are there recent missteps you'd like to see the city avoiding?
I think we do fine with communicating to people. We have, during budget time, under state law, we send out a notice to people. Unfortunately, the notice has not been good. 2 years ago, it underestimated people's property tax. Last year, rather than correcting it, they just added 10% to your home's value to increase the amount that they had estimated for your property tax. That's not good math or good business practice. We have public hearings on the budget. We put together an executive summary because it's pretty comprehensive. City budget's what they call fund balance budgeting. It's not typical accounting. Many accountants don't study fund balance in college, and if they do, they take a semester and get it C and go on to something else. It's not easy to understand. So we put together an executive summary that we provide to all citizens that want it. We put it on Facebook. We give it to the city council. We ask the city council to come in and meet with our finance director, our chief of staff, and with me. It's the mayor's budget. She'll refuse to come in and talk about the budget this year. She was not interested. She understood it. She's fine. So I don't know that our communication with people, I think, is great. There's been talk. We need to have town halls. I'm in the grocery store. My front door's open every day. People walk in and out of my office when they come in to pay their refuse bill. They tell me about their problems. When the phone rings, Allie Grimm or I answer the phone, and Allie transfers it immediately to me. I can't believe I'm talking to the mayor. You answered your own phone? I answer my own phone. I want to know what people think. We hired a communications officer. One of the candidates for mayor's Facebook posts were the posts of the city of Council Bluffs Facebook over and over and over. So it must be pretty good communications. He was using that to identify himself. And so 2 times a month at council meetings, we have an agenda item where the public can come and talk, express their concerns, ask questions. And people take advantage of that, not enough people. I've had other candidates set up time to sit and talk. One rented an office space every Saturday. It's not as effective as when the issue arises, being able to walk into City Hall, walk in my door without even knocking, or call City Hall and I answer the phone. So I think communications is pretty good for the City Council.
So the mayor mentioned that I refused to come in and talk about the budget. You used the word refuse.
Didn't.
You used the word refuse. The only time I've ever refused to have a meeting is when Matt asked me to attend a closed-door meeting about the development of the park. I refused to attend that meeting. Those types of conversations need to be held in the public during a session with all council members available to ask questions and for the community to be able to hear those as well. So I want to be very clear. That is the only time I've ever refused to go to a meeting that I've been invited to. I did not attend the budget session. It was not available in my session or in my schedule. I did review the budget. I sent some questions. Those questions were answered. I'm okay with that. As far as the notices for the tax, this last year, the year before, I agree with that. The state has not done a great idea or a great job of explaining how the taxes are going to go up. In fact, last year and this year in our sessions, we spent the vast majority of the time typing in people's addresses to tell them what their rate was going to be and how that was going to affect them. So the state is not doing a great job. As far as communication changes that I would make, there's several things that I would like to do as far as the communication. The first is I would like to utilize the texting platform where when there are major things like the budget or a potential sale or development, we can utilize the texting platform that goes out for those that opt in. It's something that at the Landlords Association Forum, we were asked if we would be willing to do. And I think it's great. I think the more we can communicate, the better. There's no issues with that at all. I'd like to see increased social media, not only on Facebook, but on the other platforms as well. There's lulls as far as when things are being posted and when things are not being posted. I think during the election season, we've seen an increase in posts from the city. But if you go back in history over the past year, there was very little being posted about the activities that were happening or different things, wins, or challenges that we were having. I do believe that we need to have town halls. Whether one person shows up or 12 people show up or 1,000 people show up, it's the responsibility of us as public officials to make ourselves available and to listen to the people of the town, of Council Bluffs. We work for you, so we need to make ourselves available for you during times that fit your schedule. And finally, one thing I would do is change the way how study sessions are ran. Generally, right now, we come in, the mayor says, any questions about the consent agenda? Any questions about this? Any questions about that? No? Okay, see you later. We need to have our community partners be invited in to give us updates. We need to go through every single item to make sure that the council has studied. If they have questions, then that those get answered.
So a lot there. Just on the study session, it is truly amazing to me. As a 18-year city council member who oftentimes knew the answer but still asked a question hoping that I would incent city staff to think about what they had proposed. Jill is exactly right. It is more common than not that the council doesn't ask a question. City staff's left to wonder, are they even reading their packet? She mentioned whether they've read their packet or not. They're hired and paid by you people to go through the information and formulate questions. That doesn't happen. The other thing about the closed, or reference to a closed behind doors meeting, Iowa has what's called the open meetings law. You cannot meet with a quorum of elected officials behind closed doors. So when we have things that have a lot of information involved in them, we meet 2 on 2, and then one council member has to meet alone so that we can communicate. We could have 5 meetings, but legally we can do 2 and 2 and a single person to go over that information. I think if Jill had bothered to come to that meeting on Dodge Park, she would have learned a lot more and she would have been more prepared to speak on the topic. That's her job, to get educated, to see both sides of the issue. She refused to even consider the other side of the issue. When it come to the meeting, as she said, refused to come.
Yeah, I did refuse. There's no question about it. I absolutely refused to go to the meeting. I don't need to sit in a meeting with a developer and other members when it could be done in an executive session with all members of the council there. So we can all have a conversation and understand where we are moving forward. That's what she said.
subject statement because you can't meet in executive session, which is truly behind closed doors. The only reasons you can meet in executive session is if there's pending litigation or if there is the sale or purchase of land. This was to talk about a concept of development not qualified for executive session. Would have been illegal to do that. That's the experience I bring.
That's fair. But if it's about a concept, then why wasn't it done in a study session? Why isn't it being conversated and discussed in the open in the public? In fact, the session before I refused to come, I asked, hey, I heard that this presentation is being passed around the city. It was done at the chamber, it was done at Rotary Club, it was done everywhere except for with the city council. So there's a different way of going about things, Matt. And so if that's the path you choose to do, that's fine. That's not the way how I would do business. And that's not the way how I'm going to do business.
We were struck by the irony of the fact that they said, you didn't communicate well. It was secret. And you're talking too much about it.
Jill, what is a policy position or an accomplishment or a personality trait that you admire about your opponent?
No, I don't think it's a funny question. Matt has done a lot for this community, and I'm not here to say that he hasn't. He's put 30 years of his time in here between city council and being the mayor, right? He does have knowledge, he does have experience, but he's not the only one who can do this job. So I appreciate and respect what he has done for this town. I just believe it's time for us to move forward in a different direction.
Same question.
Same question.
I do respect Jill for her contributions to the community. She served 4 years on the school board and then ran for the city council. She's not yet served 2 years on the city council, but her commitment to the community, I think, is admirable, and I thank her.
So I'm going to move into a couple tailored questions. And again, even if the question is not tailored to you, you will have a chance to say something or make a response. So we will start with a question directed to Matt. In your post-primary interview with the Mayoral, you said you recognized that you let some voters down. What did you mean by that, and what steps have you taken as a result?
So I think I addressed that earlier in talking with people. I too talk with people on a regular basis. I look at the homeless situation as an aesthetic detriment. People see somebody who's different than them, that they perceive that's less than them, and they don't want to be confronted with that. But I think there's some real economic damage to homeowners who are in the area where the homeless congregate. And so, in talking with those people, I honestly felt like maybe I'd let them down. It was not that I wasn't doing anything about it, not that I was sitting in my office and ignoring it. I think I was doing enough about it. And so, again, we have both the police and fire chief. The fire department gets called to the shelter on a regular basis. People have phones and they just dial the ambulance. And so sometimes 4 or 5 times a night, the ambulance goes to the shelter. The police chief has done great work. The prior police chief, we had a community group that I was at every meeting. That group fell apart during COVID because people couldn't meet anymore. We've gone with a new chief and a different focus post-COVID, and I think we're doing great things in that realm. But I think we need a tighter working relationship between the city and the shelter. And if we do that, I think we can be more effective.
Yeah, that one's tailored. Yeah, I guess my only question about post the primary to you would be, no, never mind. I'm gonna leave it. Thank you.
Jill, much of your campaign has been about change. What has the city done that you want to change, and what are examples of things you want to reverse?
Yeah, I think that we've talked quite a bit already about the things that I would want to change. The communication style is definitely needs to change, I believe. The leadership style at City Hall needs to change. The focus on housing, we are, the mayor and team has brought forth a lot of apartment housing options in the future. We need to actually be looking at owner-occupied housing and how we can fill in our land that we have available. One thing that I would want to change is that the city owns a lot of land right now. We have gotten into the developer space I'm not sure the reason why, but we've gotten into that developer space, and so we need to make sure that we have a leader that understands then how do we vet these different contractors that are coming in to do the work in our community. There's actually a project right now that I believe that there is a state level complaint filed against us here in town that we didn't have the right ratios of plumbers on the job, unlicensed people working, 11 people on the job site. Only 2 of them had Iowa State issued licenses for plumbing. They weren't apprentices, so they were helpers doing the work. That scares me as a member of the city council. If we're not vetting these companies properly and they're coming in and they're building structures and building houses, that scares me what type of liability we have and what type of quality of product we're going to end up with in our community. And so those are some of the things that I would like to see change.
So the average age of first-time home buyer in today's world is 34 years old. Those people into apartments until they buy their first home. If they get into an apartment in Omaha, they stay in Omaha. We have a dearth resident childbearing age, which translates into a dearth of young children. I talked to the superintendent of schools. They lose 100 students a year. That's our workforce for tomorrow. So we need to have housing for young professional people who will raise families in Council Bluffs, who will one day buy houses in Council Bluffs. We have 1.7% multifamily housing vacancy. At 8%, experts say that drives people into homelessness. We are 1.7%. Through the efforts of the people that I work with and who Jill continuously says are not doing a good job, they are doing a great job. I'm amazed at the people that work for me. The efforts they put in is phenomenal. We do have owner-occupied housing. Jerry Torson in Whispering Woods says it's the most successful project he's had. We just approved Melvin Sudbeck for a new subdivision off Stephen Road. And so we've got owner-occupied housing. We need more. We have less than 1%. That's not acceptable. I was speaking to a conference at the other day. I don't remember who it was, but one of the attendees was a teacher at TJ. In his home price range, 12 homes in Council Bluffs. It was a conference at the Federal Reserve. So we need housing desperately. We've come up with a program to get housing. Omaha was just recognized for 3,000 housing units, number 15 in the nation. They produce 3,000 housing units. Currently, we have in the pipeline pipeline 2,700 multifamily housing units and about another 300 owner-occupied housing units. We are equaling or outpacing the city of Omaha, which is 10 times the size of Council Bluffs. And so we made great progress. And I want to say to the people that work for me, I'm so proud every day. I'm 70 years old. I don't need to continue working. You know why I want to do this again? Because great things are happening, and I'm working with great people that I wake up with and want to go to work with on your behalf every single day.
Age for a first-time home buyer is 34 years old. And that's because they can't afford to buy a house. I bought my first house 10 years ago. I was lucky that when I moved back from Chicago, my mom had me make a couple promises to her when I moved back there. I'd pay off my student loans, I'd go back to school, and I'd save up to buy a house. Those three things happened, and I was very lucky in the fact that I wasn't in a rush to buy a house. So I was able to get one at an estate sale for a very low value. But the reason why our average homeowner is 34 years old for the first time is because we have a lack of starter homes in this community. I can't get out of my starter home for 10 years because it goes from about $150,000 to $300,000 or $400,000 really fast. There's a huge gap there that we need to work. I talked about this before in the first forum, I talked about this online, but I really believe that something that we can take advantage of in this community is modular homes. Not mobile homes, modular homes. These are homes that are built, the walls are built off-site. They go in, they can go on a slab, they can go on a basement foundation, and the cost of those homes are that high $100,000 to mid $200,000 range. That's how we get more young professionals into our community. Apartments are great for the short term as people are transitioning, but it's just that, it's transitional housing. We need to have actual owner-occupied homes in this community that will fit in everybody's budgets. Those families that the parents are aging, they don't need the 200 square foot house anymore, but they still want to have their own place to live and call their own home. They need that type of house as well. So there's different opportunities here that we can do to increase our owner-occupied housing.
Modular homes are allowed in Council Bluffs. Accessory dwelling units, which has been proposed by Councilwoman Shudak, are allowed in Council Bluffs currently. And she referenced what she doesn't know why the city's in the development business. For the very reason she just said, I finance certainly hundreds of millions of dollars in residential subdivision development. When I did that, if a lot cost $35,000, I wasn't interested in financing it because you can't build much of a home if you have to pay $35,000 for the lot. Today, with the cost of infrastructure, a minimum lot cost is $70,000, and she's right, people can't afford that. So the city took ARPA money that was a gift from the government, and some cities gave it out as bonuses. Some cities bought lots of equipment that they really didn't need. We wanted to be strategic. We bought 90 acres of ground. We got a state grant for $6.8 million. We're going to build 40 townhome units. And we're going to combine that with community development block grant money and home funds, which is another acronym, HOME funds, to allow people to get into a $275,000 house, because that's what it costs, for about $180,000. First-time home buyers building generational wealth for themselves. Developers can't do that. They can't provide that for people because of the infrastructure costs. If you have a $70,000 lot and you want a $180,000 house, you can't build much of a house for $110,000 today. So government steps in. We're where the private sector can't and makes a community grow.
I disagree with the cost of the lot, but those lots are quarter acre, half acre lots, right? We can build our city, excuse me? There.
I'm sorry, we just built a home in Whispering Woods. Our lot is not a quarter of an acre.
No.
And it was $68,000 for the lot that we have. And it's much smaller than an acre or a quarter of an acre.
I don't disagree, the cost of the lots are expensive, but we can do it in a different way. I also do appreciate the owner-occupied housing that is going down in demand. We need more of that. 2,700 apartments versus the 300 owner-occupied is skewed. So we need to look at this that we can get builders in here to build owner-occupied housing instead of apartments.
Mayoral will have somewhere between 1,100 and 1,400 housing units. Some what they call missing middle, they're not owner occupied, they're not multi-family, they're row houses, townhomes, and we'll have some multi-family. But those numbers I gave you, the 2,700 units, did not include East Mayoral, which will be between 1,100 and 1,400 additional units.
Matt, unlike Jill, who is campaigning mostly on change, you have campaigned primarily on your track record of experience. What do you have to say to voters who want change?
It was one of the great lines I heard from the police chief. Two things about a police officer. They hate the way things are, and they hate change. And so people talk about change, but I've also heard people say they love Council Bluffs just the way it is. And I tell them thank you, because for 30 years I've created that environment. Let me give you my list. I talked about West Broadway, I talked about the city levy, the blank. We've got 50 million plus in riverfront amenities that will be opening next March for the city of Council Bluffs. No taxpayer money on that. They gave us $2 million for maintenance and endowment, so that the maintenance costs, because we will take over the maintenance, but the daily maintenance will be done by the contractor who runs the amenities. We rebuilt the South Expressway. We built 2 new parks. We refurbished 7 parks, never done in decades. So if you have a park in your neighborhood that's more than likely already done, the next one's Trolley Park, that'll be the 8th park. We've added a dog park, and with the riverfront improvements, we're going to add another dog park. A new police station that I talked to 53 different groups. Jill doesn't want me out talking to groups apparently about what the city's doing to sell a bond issue for a new police station. We're fully staffed, and crime is down 27% since 2021. Why is that significant? In 2021, we were all in our homes with COVID, so the robbers couldn't rob our homes, and we're 27% better than we were in 2021. We are under, since I've been mayor, and I don't do all this stuff, we're talking about, but I got great staff. If I got one skill, that's hiring good people, and I got great people that continually get bashed. We are an ISO, Insurance Services Rating 1, which means your homeowner's property and casualty insurance is less than most communities, substantially less. That's money in your pocket. I got a hold of the Western Historic Trail Center. It was an act of Congress. I had to go through the House of Representatives, took a year. I had to go through the Senate, it took 9 years for them to give us property they didn't want. Now, we haven't done anything with it yet, but I would have gone into the National Park Service inventory and been useless going forward. I provided leadership through two floods and COVID, worked with IODT on repairing the interstate system. Yes, the Department of Transportation built the interstate system, the city has to move all the infrastructure, the city has to work with the flood levy, so it was a partnership with IDOT. I went to Washington DC with the initial group to ask for federal help with it. Billions of dollars in new commercial development. We talked about the housing, we talked about East Mayoral, and we talked about the great communications officer that we never had before, and 4 seasonal free community events for the residents of Council Bluffs, and it's just starting.
Yes, I said, like Jill, who is
campaigning mostly on change, Matt has campaigned primarily on his track record and experience. What do you have to say to the voters who
Oh, sorry. Unlike Jill, who is campaigning mostly on change, Matt has campaigned primarily on his track record and experience. What do you have to say to the voters who want change?
So I heard Matt's track record. I didn't hear anything about what he wants to change at all. And so he is very much looking to do more of the same. So if you're happy with the direction that our city is going, if you're happy with the homeless, if you're happy with the overgrown weeds, the vacant buildings, if you're happy with the empty lot, the limited communications, the shortage of good paying jobs, vote for Matt on November 4th.
If you're happy, you know, clap your hands.
Jill, how do you intend to work with community partners like the Iowa West Foundation, the Chamber, Advance Southwest Iowa, and the Community Foundation for Western Iowa? Are there things you would approach differently from the current mayor in relation to these partners?
Yeah, so they are community partners and they need to be worked at. Matt mentioned, or I actually was talking with Chris earlier, I met with Brenda from the Iowa West Foundation earlier this week. They have a role in this community, and so it is important that the mayor and the council be informed as to what's going on and talk about different priorities and see where those priorities can align and what we can do differently. One thing that I would do, or there's actually several things I would do, but the State of the City address would not be held at the chamber anymore. It would be online, free for everybody to watch and attend. I would move, or I would ask for those different events to be moved to the end of the day or in the evening time, so that way more regular working folks can attend these events. Right now, it's extremely hard for somebody who isn't a business owner or a member of the chamber to get time off of work and to go attend these events. I actually had to meet with Brenda because they are doing, there's a meeting next week to talk about the results of the survey, the community survey was put out. It's in the middle of the day, it's a 2-hour luncheon. I'm a regular working person. How am I supposed to take 2 hours off, actually 3 hours by the time you drive there, attend the meeting, and then drive back to work? So we need to look at those different types of events and work with our community partners to move and shift these different types of activities if we want true public engagement to occur.
There are multiple community events during the day. There's multiple community events at night. There is no entertainment budget for the mayor. I pay for all those out of my own pocket. In 2 years, I've seen Jill at one event. That was the Jason Awards, and nobody recognized her in the office, and they didn't introduce her. And so I introduced her from the stage, said, I want to make sure people know that Councilwoman Jill Shudak is here. It is too much going on. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, so I won't ramble.
I've attended the Jason Awards, I attended Celebrate TV Parade, I attend Winterfest, I've attended Summerfest, I've attended the concerts down at the riverfront. I attend anything that I possibly can attend while I fit into my schedule. I have a full-time job, I I do city council work. I volunteer at different places around the community. I have a husband and a household. I do everything I possibly can do within my parameters of having a full-time job. I apologize, Matt, if you haven't seen me. We actually sat on the stage to do graduation when I was in city council, or excuse me, when I was on the Board of Education. I took an entire week off to sit through the elementary graduation program. So to say that I don't attend community events, I think that's just a little disingenuous.
In 2 years, I said, when you were on the school board, you were there. Oh, by the way, I'm not on the school board. I was at every one of them. Maybe I missed one or two, because I have a busy schedule too. I've done that for well over a decade. It's very important that our students get educated and become productive workers. It's vital to our economy, and it's vital that the mayor helps send that message, and so I take that job very seriously.
Matt, the nonprofit has heard from some community members who have told us that you've been dismissive of them and they felt like you just told them to kick rocks. How do you view your reputation for interacting with the public, and how do you balance addressing individuals with the need to do what's best in the community at large?
I would say that I am not dismissive of people. I have people call and ask me to help them fill out their Christmas card list. They want to send Christmas cards to their neighbors. I help people who are in prison find housing. I get calls every day. I got a call from a lady this week who told me that the $1 increase in her garbage bill caused her to have a $30 overdraft fee in her account, and that we were taxing her out of her home. That's the reason I'm looking at Dodge Park, not because I'm trying to help my developer friends, as certain people have indicated. It's because you can either increase taxes, you can cut services, or you can broaden the tax base. Council Bluffs is restricted by the river to the west, by the hills to the north, and to a certain extent by the rolling hills out 92. Urban sprawl is expensive, extending infrastructure. Dodge Park would not cause a significant expense in infrastructure extension. It wouldn't cause an additional fire station or police station. And it just made good economic sense to me why a golf course that doesn't pay taxes, that competes with 3 privately owned golf courses that must pay taxes, and even though it doesn't pay taxes, and one golf owner told me $150,000 he pays, our golf course made $33,500 each of the last 2 years, slightly less than that, and we put in $200,000 worth of irrigation to water the golf course, an expense. So do the math on that. It is a great location that would have ensured its success. I get it, it's an inconvenience to golfers. I apologize to them for that, but the benefit to taxpayers would far outweigh those golfers who would have to golf at one of the other 3 golf courses in Council Bluffs, or the golf course in Carter Lake, or the 24 golf courses in Omaha. So they have a solution. That poor lady who's going to lose her house, that's not an acceptable solution for me.
So I believe the question was, what does Matt say to people that think that he's not listening to them or just kind of brushes them off? I've sat in meetings where he has brushed people off. I've sat in meetings where he's been disrespectful to other council members. It just happened in the last meeting that we had. I've sat in meetings where he's talking about people as they're coming and going in the rooms. I, on the other hand, pride myself on going out and meeting people where they are. I mentioned it earlier, we've knocked over 15,000 doors from the start of this primary. That's me, my brother, and my 77-year-old mom. That's it. I I go out and I meet with people day in and day out. If they have a question, they have a concern. Later on today, I'm going to meet with somebody who's homeless and who's having issues and concerns. I want to talk to people. I also take the criticism. There's been a lot of negative attacks on Facebook, personal attacks, and that's there and it's available. And you have to, as a leader, take the positive with the negative and look at the negative and say, is there something I can be doing different or better to reach out and to meet people where they are?
It's, in some cases, I am dismissive. I don't suffer stupid well, and I'm not talking about the citizens. I'm talking about the city council. The incident Jill referenced was 2 city council people trying to get another city council person elected, and so they brought up at the 12th hour a proposal, and then said that it's been brought up 3.5 years ago. It was probably brought up 10 months ago, which was to make the Joshua House a dry shelter, meaning that if people had consumed alcohol or drugs, they couldn't go in. Well, that would push those people right out into the bus stops on Broadway. It just wasn't a good idea. And 6 or 9 months ago, that city councilman brought it up. None of the city councilmen were in favor of it. Joe wasn't in favor of it. And then they brought it up again as a last-minute ditch to get election votes, and they misrepresented it by saying 3 years ago they brought it up. They did not, and I apologize. I said bullshit.
Jill, some people have criticized you for not being active in the community in your role on the city council. Do you agree with that critique, and how will you approach this?
I don't disagree with that, or I do disagree with that critique. The packet comes out on Wednesday afternoons. I spend Thursday evenings and Friday evenings going through the entire packet. I am very comfortable to say I know I'm one of 2 that read their entire packet. Steve Foreman being the other person who reads their entire packet. So that takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. I reach out to different community partners. If there's a question, a concern, I go drive by the different locations that we're discussing. I've reached out to neighbors to get their input. I volunteer at the different events that the city has. I've walked in parades. Again, I've made myself available to anybody at any point in time. I believe I'm a very active member of the city council.
I've got quite a few questions left, but are there any topics that you guys would like to see us touch on today that we have not yet? Yes.
Shudak talks about being on Facebook and making one statement and contradicting it with another, and tries to cover it up. And I guess what I want to know is, when she talks about the mayor not being involved with the public and not doing things with the public like he should, I am a business owner. And you made statements that it takes 2 months to get a blueprint or get a permit for a building that we're doing. I build houses, I get property from the city, it costs $1,040. We have 2 years to build that house, and you're asking, or you're making statements that there is, you want to build houses, but first of all, you got to find a property, and there is no property. Houses are being torn down in Council Bluffs, and by the time it gets torn down, the city of Council Bluffs has got $16,500 for that property to torn down. When you say that you want to bring in more affordable housing, first of all, I want to know how you're going to handle the budget for the city of Council Bluffs, how you're going to handle these things that the mayor's already handled, because it's not just, okay, we're going to figure out this and figure out that, and that's it. There's a lot more to it than just taking the word from the mayor and being a mayor. My question to you is, how are you going to handle this budget? How are you going to be able to make these things work when you have no experience? You say that you, on your job, that you handle millions of dollars. I believe that you don't handle the millions of dollars, but I do believe you're a glorified secretary, that you may write all this stuff.
Whoa!
I don't think that you handle it.
So the question is, Jill, how would you handle the budget as mayor?
Yeah, so I do handle multi-million dollar budgets on a daily basis. I am responsible for making decisions. I am responsible for bringing back ideas.
What's your job title?
I am the program manager of the lending.
So you have all this money that comes in and goes out.
Yes. I do reconciliations. I do budgets. For not only for projects, but also for employees. I've had at one point in time up to 22 direct reports to me. I've since then had 3 different promotions, so I don't have a direct team currently as of May of this year because I've taken over an entire vertical.
So you do all the budgets, correct?
For my program,
Well,
yes.
I'm asking you, do you do the budget for the whole company?
No,
Okay,
not for the company.
I feel like we're getting a little off.
No, I just like to handle though my experience, if you don't mind, Rachel.
Yes, I would love that.
Because I do have experience managing budgets, managing people, discussing and communicating with the CEO of a Fortune 15 company. Those are the different things that I do on a daily basis. So I do reconcile over $44 million of money that comes in and out. I manage programs and projects from inception to all the way to delivery. I coordinate and I communicate and I coordinate with the different teams that are involved, whether that be a tech team, whether that be a client relation manager, whether that be our legal team to ensure things are done. Those are all experiences that I bring. I also have a 4-year degree in business management, and as I mentioned, I've led up to 22 direct reports to me, where I've had to budget in employee salaries, raises, bonuses, things of that nature. I am very qualified to come in and to take this position.
A related question to the both of you. And Matt, I suppose we'll start with you. What challenges and constraints do you foresee in maintaining city services at current levels, and how would you address them? Do we invest enough in roads, sewers, and other infrastructure?
The challenge always is funding. State legislature preempts the city of Council Bluffs, so when Jill talked about raising the sales tax a penny, that's not something that local government can do. That's something that's driven by the state. The state has restricted the growth in property taxes. Their efforts now are to restrict the growth in revenue, and why those two things are different. We get other funding sources, hotel motel tax, casino tax, permit fees. The state now is talking about restricting those. Most people don't know that state or city employees are paid on a step and grade form of pay, and so when you see the city council give a 3.75% pay increase, that employee is also getting a step increase somewhere between 3.5% and 4%. So that's a 7.5% pay increase. If you are restricted, which is what they're talking about doing, to 2%, that's not sustainable unless you grow the tax base of the city of Council Bluffs. Des Moines laid off almost 30 employees last year. Council Bluffs didn't have to because we had valuation growth primarily from Google. And so we want to continue to grow the tax base so that we don't have to cut services. If you're worried about not being able to golf, we may have to close that golf course at some point because we don't have the money to pay to get it mowed. And the state, from lobbyists that I talked to, the Iowa government, which is Republican governor, Republican Senate, Republican health, would like to do away with libraries and parks. They don't think those are essential services for residences. Remember earlier I said I want to create a sense of place. You've got to have a place you want to go to and enjoy to live. And if we are not prepared, if we are not growing that pipeline, we just passed an RFP, a request for proposal, on the city's comprehensive plan. That's our business plan, a 20-year plan. The old adage is, if you don't plan, I don't remember how it goes, a failure to plan is a plan for failure. That vote, 4-1, Jill Schmack voted against a business plan for the city of Council Bluffs. We need a roadmap to know where we're going. It's community input. She talks about community input. That plan involved multiple community meetings and charrettes to learn and to tell the city what direction you as residents want to go. That plan passed 4-1 on the city council.
It's true, I voted against it. And I voted against it because it's $600,000 and we currently have 5 years left on our city plan. Within our packet, it said that this would take 18 months to put together. We voted on this 3.5 years early, and we should have waited until we were further down the line to spend $600,000 on the plan. So it's true. I did vote no on that proposal. And actually, when I brought that up in study session, you said we had 4 years left on the plan, and then when we were in the meeting, you said it was 5 years, but we're in September, so the year's basically over, so it's 4 years. But I think that we need to grow our city smartly. Statistics say if you grow a city by over 2% or 3%, you're going to overwhelm the infrastructure. You're going to have shortages in police departments and fire departments, and we're going to overload our infrastructure. So we need to make sure that we're growing smartly. We have a lot of housing in the pipeline, but we can't grow too fast. Otherwise, we're going to outpace ourselves with that infrastructure. We also then need to make sure that we are incentivizing our builders to utilize our local workers. And we can do that by changing our RFP process and actually changing the weight where a local workforce could get an extra 10 to 15 points there. That would bring in higher quality jobs for the people here in our community or in our county, and keep that work localized instead of having developers bringing people from out of state that potentially are not licensed. When it comes to taxes, I think Matt and I are basically on the same page from that perspective, where there's a lot of misinformation that we control a lot of the taxes here locally. And that's just not the case. About 40 to 45% of your property taxes come from those bodies like the county and the school district. So it's really important that we have somebody that oversees the budget, that's going to make sure that we are managing our city services, our infrastructure, our public safety. One of the skills that I do on a daily basis or on a basis within my day-to-day job is every year I do an efficiency audit to see where can we drive more efficiencies, where can we save money? Are we focused in one part of our department versus another part of our department? Where can we find those efficiencies to keep our dollars where they need to be, and so we're just not spending across the board? What I would like to see and what I plan to do when I'm elected mayor is do a 90-day audit of all the different departments so we can see where we are. We need to be proactive and not reactive when something happens to us in the future.
It's a lot more than 40%. 50 8.5% of your tax bill comes from either the county, the city out of Western, or a couple other taxing authorities, including Brucellosis. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's happening again. I feel like Joe Biden up here. There's just a lot going on. You know, we just need to, when we talk about doing an audit of the, Jill, I laid off the entire health department of the city of Council Bluffs because under Iowa law, that work is to be done by the county. We moved those services to the county. That helped the taxpayers over $700,000 departmental budget. And oh, by the way, the ancillary non-intended effect is when COVID hit, we had one health department sending one unified message out, and they did a great job. I laid off all the employees at the golf course because they were losing $350,000 each and every year. And I tried to formulate a plan where we could lower that. I went to the pro at the time and I said, I don't want to be unrealistic. Let's cut $200,000 of that loss this year and then work on the rest next year. How do I do that? Lay off one of the golf pros and lay off one of the greenskeeper superintendents. That's $200,000. They came back, they lost $320,000. And so I had to tell them, I'm sorry, we need to go another route. So it isn't that the cost waste has been ignored. It's been rectified in I think we're going to go forward stronger in the future. But we need to grow our tax base in order to sustain ourselves in the services that you all come to expect.
I don't disagree we need to grow our tax base, but Matt's talking about layoffs and laying off people. I'm not talking about laying off people. I am talking about looking for efficiencies. Is there an opportunity for us to work with the county and say, hey, do we get a cheaper rate if we buy all of our paper together and have it delivered? I'm happy to walk across the street and go pick up the boxes of paper. Where are there different efficiencies that we can gain by doing an audit across our different departments? Not laying off different people, not laying off different departments, but actual efficiencies. And you have to look at each individual department in order to see, is there something better we can do? If we're doing everything as best we can, that's great, that's amazing. But I don't know, Matt, when's the last time you've done an audit of those different departments?
When I became the mayor,
12 years ago.
Each department bought their own supplies. People in the department oftentimes got benefits for buying supplies from certain providers. That no longer occurs. There's one uniform business that we buy supplies from, and we go out for proposals for those supplies.
Sorry, I got sidetracked and I let us run over, so I apologize. If we could briefly do some quick closing statements, you'll each have 90 seconds. Jill, if you'd like to start.
Sure, absolutely. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I'd like to thank the chamber and the city for hosting us. It's great to see this many people here in the auditorium. I've been to the other forums and they were well less attended. Again, thank you to Brian Holder for videotaping this, and it'll be up on their website as well as the Chamber of Commerce, I believe, later. It's really simple when it comes to this election. Are you happy with what things currently are right now, or are you ready for a change? I bring a fresh perspective. I am about 30 years younger than Matt. I look at things in a different way. I look at technology in a different way. There's great things that we can be doing to bring additional people into this community. And so the choice is clear. Do we want more of the same, or do we want to change? Thank you.
We certainly can't bring more people into the community if we don't have housing. 20% of our school teachers, according to Martha Bruckner, live in Council Bluffs. That means 80% live in Omaha. 60% of our hospital workers live in Omaha. We need housing. focused on housing, ultra focused on housing. You've heard the numbers. We're doing as well, if not better, than Omaha. I love Council Bluffs. I want to finish this job out. I understand Jill's perspective because you have to differentiate yourself if you want to get elected. I just wish there was some more truthfulness in that differentiation, but I would humbly ask for your support in the next election so that we can keep driving Council Bluffs forward. I appreciate it. I see nodding heads. I see shaking heads. I understand that's how the process works. I'm available if you have concerns or questions. Come in, give me a call. I'm happy to talk about it.
As Rachel mentioned, we did go over time a little bit, so I apologize for that, but the conversation was very good. I want to thank the candidates Jill Shudak and Matt Wall for being here this morning. Also, thank you to Rachel George for moderating. Not an easy task, and I appreciate your help with all of this. And thank you all for being here. I want to thank Advance Southwest Iowa Corporation for sponsoring, and the school district again for hosting us. Before you leave, there are 2 ballot measures, depending on where you live, that I just wanted to mention briefly that you will also see on your ballots. Iowa Western Community College is running a bond referendum to replace an expiring bond, so the tax levy will not increase, but it will be used to install a new career and technical education building that will house automotive, diesel technology, logistics, CDL training, and other career and technical training initiatives in Potawatomi County and their centers in Shenandoah, Atlantic, and Cass County. I would encourage you to look up information on that bond referendum and consider voting yes. Those are extremely important programs for the future of our workforce, and Iowa Western is a great partner. Also, if you live in the Council Bluffs Community School District, there will be a bond ballot issue on your ballot. It is long, it is confusing, and in summary, it's asking voters to continue to allow the school district to use saved funds, which is a state penny of state sales tax that can be used for school infrastructure and technology, as well as PEPL, physical plant equipment levy funds. Those funds are designated for the school district. The ballot issue is asking voters to give them permission to spend that money, essentially. So again, look up both of those things if they're going to be on your ballot, depending on where you live, and consider supporting those things. They're very important for our youth and for the future of our education programs in Council Bluffs and Potawatomi County and beyond. Thanks again for all of you for being here. Remember to vote on November 4th and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Have a great day.
Mom and Dad. Good. It's great to see you.
What did you say? I said maybe you should step down like 5 years.